Beautiful Brisbane, Australia. How are you this morning or this evening, wherever you are in the world? Welcome to our global family, and it's great to be here with you today. I want to share some information with you today about enmeshed families. Now, unlike Panda the cat and she's sitting over there. Can you see the feet underneath the heater? It's beautiful winter here. We have separate space and do our own things. Enmeshed families, okay, I know that she's a cat, but so I want to give you a visual perception of what an unmeshed family is. We have space and distance and we're doing our own things. But when we're having a meshed family, we're like this, okay? There's no lines, there's no space between us, all right? So I want you to think about how you'd like to have space in your family or amongst your family members. What visuals does that bring up for you? What emotions and thoughts does that bring up for you? Okay, what family rules do you see? And especially, do you think about the unspoken family rules? So in my family, the unspoken family rules were a lot along the lines of either keep it safe, keep it secret, keep it safe. Like, go out and put on a good front to the world, but behind closed doors it's a bit of a disaster. Or the other one is, if you get emotional, we just don't talk about emotions at all. Zip those lips, okay? If you don't talk about it, then that's okay. And I'd like to give you a really good example of that too. Yesterday, I didn't know that my young Nick is 22. I didn't know that he'd had a really rough emotional morning, and I asked him and Josh if they could just spend 5 minutes getting rid of some weeds for me. And then Nick had a really bad reaction to it, which then triggered stuff in me from their dad, who's deceased, which sounds funny when you say it and not logical at all, but it's this talking in circles where it doesn't matter what question you ask, doesn't matter what question they ask and you answer, they come at you with another question and tie you in knots, and it feels like they're not actually listening to your response, okay? Which really gets me angry. It's a very rare day that I'm angry, which they'll tell you, and we spoke about later. But here's the difference, okay, when it's not enmeshed. We both went and did our own thing, and then later that night I cooked him some dinner because I knew that he wasn't well, but I didn't know what was wrong. And then we sat down and talked about what happened. So we didn't rehash the events that happened. We went through about what was actually happening for both of us on either side of it. And it's so good to have a relationship with an adult where you can sit down and do that. And then he told me what had happened that morning, and I went, oh my goodness, if I'd known the incredible emotional pressure you're under, I would never, ever have asked you to help out. And because I know that what the impact is for him. Then the other side of it was, I said to him, it's like when you talk in circles. I said, I can't breathe. I can't get out of that situation. But the important thing to remember is no matter what, if we get angry, the bigger picture is we will always love each other. And no matter what, when you love each other, you always find a way to make a way through what happens and adapt and sort things through. So an enmeshed family won't do that, okay? They will just expect you to conform to how they are and to show up without having a genuine, heartfelt conversation about what happened when there was a disagreement. Heck, they won't even admit there's disagreements, but that's a whole other chat show about that. So they lack boundaries, all right? So you're either in each other's space all the time. You can't speak about how you feel. You can't show up as who you are as an adult. You feel like you have to keep being the person that they raised you to be instead of who you really know you are. Okay, so you're not encouraged to become an individual and become emotionally independent. So you're not encouraged to have your own opinion or your own say, or like Nick and I do, we sit down and we say, well, this is what was happening for me and this is what was happening for me. And then we don't take on each other's stuff. We say, oh, okay, if I'd known that, we could have done this. And then we sit down, well, we're already sitting down, let's face it. We then go through what we want to be able to do better next time as an individual, not as I can do that better for you. It's okay, I can see where I can manage things better myself, okay? So it's a self-reflective state, and it's personal ownership as well of what I need to do to grow and to grow into a more healthy, more communicative relationship with my son. Okay? The enmeshed relationships have a needy quality, all right? So when we can really recognize that in ourselves, especially in my family, I wanted praise for, doing a good job at, say, at school, like, getting mostly A's and getting a good report card. Wanted my parents to be able to say, great, good job, keep going, keep doing, you're on the right path. But all their resources were focused on my brother, who wasn't doing as well. And I once said something to my mum, and she said, but you're doing fine, you don't need, she didn't say attention, that wasn't a word back then, so to speak, that was used in families. She was like, well, why do we need to say anything? You're doing fine. There's basically, in her words, there's nothing to say. But we're very human and we need validation, even self-validation. But I didn't know about self-validation back then either. Now, these days, I can tell my family what I'm doing. They may or may not be proud of me. I don't know, because I only text them. But there's never any feedback, and it doesn't impact me anymore. It's okay. That's just, that's who they are. Okay, I can't change that. I validate myself and I know I'm doing well. And it's really important that to understand or to take on board or to let it infiltrate your heart and know that because you are doing good work in your recovery, that it can feel good that you're doing good work, and that's a way of validating yourself and encouraging yourself to keep moving forward with your recovery as well. And it's important that we do that as adults, because if we keep going into relationships with this neediness, then we will keep attracting people. I don't really like the word, we attract people, but let's just go with what's known for the moment. And we will keep looking for other people to meet those needs instead of us meeting our needs ourselves, okay? You may find in an enmeshed family, excuse me, I'm so sorry, it's winter here, but you may find in an enmeshed family that there's oversharing, so everybody tells everyone everything about each other, and there's no sense of, well, that's a private thing for somebody else, so I'm not going to talk about it, okay? Or they may demand to know all about your life, and that's not a good thing either. So be careful with people who tell other people, tell you everything they know about everybody else. Then they're definitely talking about your stuff with everybody else. So that comes back to needing to limit who you say what to. And that's a healthy thing to be doing, actually. In enmeshed families, there is this unspoken expectation to conform to the family norms and traditions, and to start breaking free of that, we can begin to feel like we don't belong anymore. And the plus side of that is if you're feeling that way, you do begin to build a new life for yourself. And that may seem like a mountain you don't want to climb, but it's actually a mountain where the view from the top is brilliant. Okay, so I want to encourage you to think about what that means for you. And in an enmeshed family, we don't have space to have our own opinions or views or to go off and do something different with our life. There is heavy expectations around fitting in. So in my family, it was definitely you go off, get a job, get married, have kids, buy a house, all of that. That was considered to be the norm. But if you step outside of that norm, then you're the one with the problem, okay? Parents can treat their children as friends or confidants, okay? So instead of the parent being able to, and this is going into adulthood, where your parents can be a separate adult. You're an adult, they're an adult. And you, like Nick and I did last night, even if there's disruption, you can sit down and work it through, okay? In an enmeshed family, that will not happen at all. And in fact, quite often they won't even talk about what's going on behind closed doors at all right? And if your parent is treating you as a friend and not treating you as an equal, that's unhealthy as well, because then you find yourself in a situation where they expect you to meet their needs, but they never notice that you as an adult have needs as well, okay? And fierce loyalty is expected, okay? So it is expected that you will remain loyal to the family system that you were raised in. You don't need to, okay? And for a while, if you need to juggle both as you work through your own recovery, that's okay too, all right? It's never cut and dried, black and white, I'm in, I'm out. It's I have to go through this process one step at a time so that my whole journey evolves along the way, along each day, even just one day at a time. I begin to make separate choices, all right? And guilt and shame can be used to maintain the status quo. So you may be feeling guilt if you don't show up to, family member X, Y, and Z's latest birthday party. But you know that you don't want to go, you know that you're not emotionally attached to it, but the family expects your loyalty and expects you to show up. Then you have to be willing to step into an adult space and say, well, no, that's not for me. I need to be able to make choices and decisions. And the other side of that is when I make the choices and decisions, do I feel like that I'm not going to be loved and accepted in my family anymore? And once we can understand that, we can then begin to put into place strategies and structures that help us move through that recovery stage as well. So it's not that we need to do it alone. It's simply that we're recognizing each stage that we're at. And the love and belonging, we have to be willing to look at, do I feel like I won't be loved and won't belong? And can I, or is it possible that I can have an adult conversation about something that I want to change in the family, and can the family go with the flow? I once watched an SBS, that's a TV station in Australia, show about families, broken families. And there were two dads. One father didn't want to put any effort into working towards having a relationship with his adult children. It's very much, well, I've done what I can, But another dad was like, yes, I'm seeing a psychologist, and I'm going about doing everything I can to learn how to repair my relationship with my daughters. And, whatever it takes, I'm there, I'll do it. And that just spoke volumes to me, because that was the kind of parent, or is the kind of parent I am. No matter what it takes, I will be there, and I will do whatever I can to make sure that we continue to have a healthy relationship. That's why I said to Nick last night, part of a healthy relationship is we're going to have disagreements, because that's when we're growing. I said, I love you. No matter if we have a disagreement, I love you. I will love you through it all. And my actions will show you always that I love you through it all. It's okay that we have disagreements, and it's okay that we sit down and work it through. So with our enmeshed families, they don't want to know about it, and they don't want to work it through. And it is a normal, healthy thing for us to work through differences and to not be enmeshed in having to live our life according to how our family says that we need to. I hope that helps you out today, and have the most beautiful, beautiful day wherever you are in the world. And I will see you on the next video. Bye for now.